Hi, everybody. Welcome to the next Focus to Evolve book chat. I am Tana, and with me again is Jason. How are you doing today, Jason?
Hola, hola, ¿cómo están? Having a good day. It's a fast-paced Monday morning, but we're getting through it one breath at a time here.
As we all are every day throughout our lives. So today we are talking about the book Read This Before Our Next Meeting, The Modern Meeting Standard by Pittampalli. And it's a short little book, but it's packed with a lot of meaningful information, especially for Jason and I, where we come up upon people who have packed calendars quite often, and trying to coach people through packed calendars because of just back-to-back meetings. That's actually one of my hardest client coaching scenarios because it's very hard to tell people, oh, you've got back-to-back meetings and you have a to-do list that's this long. The time on that just doesn't add up. Like, there's 24 hours. If you're working for 10 hours a day and all of them are meetings, when exactly are you expecting to get your work done? That's always like a, oh, kind of moment where people are thinking, oh, I didn't even think about that. But how is it that we are not thinking about that? This seems like a problem that is so deep in our culture right now that this book is very timely for us. So Jason, do you have any intro comments that you want to make about the book?
Just echoing what you said, there are very few clients when I'm training groups. I don't care what industry it's in. I don't care what role, what seniority level, if it's the group of janitors or the C-suite executives, same problem. It's everywhere.
Right.
And it is amazing because it's a problem that everyone has, and yet not many people are willing to do something about it. They just talk about it. And so meetings always come up. Hey, we just do so many meetings in this company. And yeah, it's definitely hurting your ability to get the things done that you're supposed to be getting done. It just does. And it's draining people psychologically, emotionally. And so this book is brilliant. It gets to the point. It's got some great points I know you're going to cover. And I'm sure as we go, it'll get pretty fiery. I know once I started, I didn't stop it. It was an hour and a half book.
Right.
On listening, and it just every point, yep. Now let's just do it. So Hannah and I are even just for the audience to know, we're actually going to be implementing a component of doing mature meetings in work, and it's going to get people a lot of time back. So let's jump in and see where we go with this.
Yeah. So in the book, the author quotes Peter Drucker, who says, meetings are by definition a concession to deficient organization. We either meet or we work. We can't do both at the same time. And I see this so much in corporate culture where they feel like meetings are work, but it's actually a place where you defer work. Everybody in that space is not actually doing the work that they're supposed to be doing. It's just the place where people kind of like toss around ideas and talk to each other and catch up. And very frequently, there isn't even an agenda for this. There isn't follow-up information of who's responsible for this. And so Al in his book is just saying, like, here's some bullet points of things that need to be a part of every meeting and what needs to not be a part of any meeting. Did you have any comments on any of those points?
No, it is the 1-for-1 ratio of the real escape from that is everyone needs to take the memo reading a lot more serious so that we don't have to go and do these meetings. And the meetings, like you said, it's become a place for kind of procrastination. Right. Instead of making the hard decision and then calling the meeting to support the decision that was made.
Right.
And I remember an article, I think it was a Harvard Business Review article called The Tragedy of the Masses, I think, where they talked about just how disastrous meetings are in terms of, if you're an investor in a company, every meeting that they have would offend you deeply, because the one guy who needed everybody's opinion, instead of sending an email and working a little bit one-on-one, held 7 people captive at $100,000 a year, fully loaded salaries. And that costed the investors a lot of money. And what kind of return is that getting you, just because it was convenient to call all these people, make them all stop the work they're supposed to be doing to come to a meeting and be hijacked by you? So the essence of this book is awesome in that meetings are good when done very properly, succinctly, and with awesome brevity. So yeah, let's keep going, because there's some points in here that I'll get really enthusiastic about.
He also wrote in here that David Heinemeier Hansen said, meetings are toxic because they break work days into a series of work moments. Achieving flow can take long periods of focus. Interruptions cause us to start over each time. And that is something that we deal with a lot in our training. And it's so deep, the problem here, that it boggles my mind of where to even start to change the culture. Because also in the book, he says that most people see meetings as basically like subpoenas that they're not able to ignore. And that's also a part of the problem. So, I mean, I'm going to go into kind of some of the points that are the principles that he thinks that modern meetings should contain. And I guess if we want to kind of go back and forth on each point, or if you want me just to go down and do each point and we can kind of talk about them as a whole, I'll just read through kind of the bullet points of the points and we can talk afterwards. Okay,
let's do that.
So some principles are the modern meeting doesn't make decisions. Leaders do. You kind of talked about that briefly just a second ago. The modern meeting has 2 primary functions: conflict and coordination, which if you read the book, you can read more about that later, but one of his points. The modern meeting moves fast and ends on schedule. The modern meeting limits the number of attendees. The modern meeting rejects the unprepared. The modern meeting produces committed action plans. The modern meeting refuses to be informational. And the modern meeting works only alongside a culture of brainstorming. So what kind of points do you have in your notes about what a modern meeting is that you would like to touch upon, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, there they are right there. It's pretty self-evident. I think most people who heard that list are just thinking, oh, that'd be nice. Oh, that'd be nice. And you kind of think of meetings, instead of this thing that is just prevalent in our everyday meeting, to more like, I liked his analogy about the NASCAR race, where the NASCAR goes out there and does its job full speed for hundreds of, or, I don't know how many miles, about 100 miles, comes in for a real quick, brief pit stop with the team to get refreshed, to get back on the same page, to get everything calibrated, and right back on the track real fast, but really meaningful.
Right.
And the other kind of picture to hold in your mind would be how the Oval Office does. I think he said 6-minute meetings. So, Mr. President, here's what we got. It's not, how was the baseball game last night? And I don't know, let's just sit here for a little while longer until Johnny finds his notes that he wanted to talk about. And just such a waste. The Oval Office, when you walk in there, you know exactly what you're going to say. You say it and you leave the building, or have the conversation or question answered and then leave the building. Really not much pleasantry. And I think that as long as the culture of the company relating to meetings, as long as the culture is publicly stating that meetings are brief, and in this company, this is how we do it so that everyone can get a bunch of their life back. I mean, a bunch. Like Tana and I were talking what the value statement's going to be of proper meeting training with Focus to Evolve is every person in a company gets roughly a day of their life back every week, because we're going to do 15-minute meetings that really mean something instead of 1-hour meetings where everyone's just kind of, sort of, and, let's, for lack of better words, messing around. So getting back to brevity, being okay with brevity and not being offended by it, And if the culture is very open with that, then, and stated beforehand, everyone should be okay with brevity. Just, yeah, we're not going to talk about the baseball game today. We're here to talk about these 3 points. In fact, everyone already knew what the points were, because before the meeting, it is law, absolute required, that the meeting agenda has the who, what, when, where, why, and how included in it. Very clean objective of why we're getting together and what we're going to get out of it. And that's it. And what we would also be talking about in the training is how to do a really fast email appointment template that already has the template that the appointer of the meeting fills out. So it's in template form. He just has to fill in the words and push the send to the group. The other thing I'll say that really landed on me was that it's the responsibility of everyone who's invited to fend off that meeting, as though that's valuable time. And it is valuable time, and it shouldn't be against company culture to deny a meeting with the truth. Hey, I don't have a whole lot to add to this. I would love to see the briefing afterwards, or we can have a private conversation if you have 1 or 2 things you need from me, but no need for me to drop my schedule for a whole hour to listen 98% of the time, talk for 2% of the time. And that talk could have easily been done in an email exchange. So you need to get really bold with pushing back, and the company culture. So HR, strategic managers, and leaders of companies, please start adopting to less meetings, far, far more powerful, succinct, and brief, kind of like the NASCAR race or the Oval Office. You're in with the president, everyone's time's valuable, and let's get back to the real work we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Every time I think about this scenario of meeting cultures drastically changing, I think of how far away we are from even dipping toenails into that space. Because before I was doing this, I worked at a corporate job, and you would for sure, and I did know I had a system for the work that I needed to do. That's also a big deficiency in our workforce, is most people don't have any sort of system for keeping track of all the things that they need to do. Their filter for what I need to do next is who's currently yelling at me, and after that, what just came into my inbox. Those are their 2 filters, and that keeps them going their entire career. And with that, if someone is asking you to go to a meeting, then you're going to say yes, because you think, oh, they're going to yell at me because I'm not going, and so I'm going to go. And honestly, as someone who did have a system and knew these are the other things that I need to get done today, and you want to come and talk to me about this thing that is not at all important for me to talk about today, that means that I am giving up the time to work on these things that I really need to do. So I'm going to say no to this and suggest something else. And you honestly get backlash for saying no to things, especially if you're not the absolute top of the ladder in the hierarchy of an organization. You'll hear about that no again, because we're so far away from having a culture where it's okay to say no to people, even if it's for some, because people just assume that because they want to talk about it, that it's really important to other people. When
and you can get labeled not a team player.
Yes.
Actually, you are the most team player. You're trying to make the successful organization. They're paying you money to do a particular job, not sit in a room with 9 people and listen to them.
Right.
So great point. It's really not even scratching the surface. So what a beautiful opportunity. That's the way we need to look at it, like real gains.
Right. It is a big problem, and with big problems come big opportunities. So
there we go. Law of the universe, right?
Any upper management people out there, the moment y'all start believing this and start living it is the moment that the people underneath you believe that it's possible, and you change the organization. Someone who's at the bottom of the, like I was kind of at the bottom of the rung at the previous company that I was at. I wasn't going to be able to sway a culture with my meaningful meeting kind of ideas. That stuff just doesn't go up very easily, but it does go down if people take it seriously. So
Yeah, what if, right, great point. What if the director of whatever business unit, every meeting that went out, every person that was in that meeting saw this really clean agenda and saw them walk out on time. And by the way, started right on time.
Mhm.
And it really is. It's just the culture of sloppy meetings
Right.
is everywhere.
And the culture of sloppy meetings is everywhere because a culture of sloppy work is everywhere.
Yeah.
So few people have any sort of system for their
Yeah.
work other than what I just said before, who's yelling at me and what just came into my inbox. So PS, if you need help with a system for work, that is our bread and butter. And we can definitely show you a system for that. It's worked for me for almost 20 years. No, it's longer. And it's worked for Jason for a long time too. So hit us
Yeah.
up. You don't have any sort of system for work whatsoever, and you're just blowing in the breeze of what other people want from you all day, every day. But it's just such a pervasive issue.
Yeah, no doubt. And that I've heard it said that my mess became my message.
Mhm.
And I saw a lot of that. I was that Johnny on the spot, whatever was jumping up and hot in my face. I was so proud at how many of those things I could get done, but really it's not about how much you get done. It's about how much you get done that's done well.
Right.
And when you're just trying to do it all, there's just no chance. It will be Groundhog Day for the rest of your life. You're going to wake up with 25 meetings and 13 tasks or 60 tasks, and you'll just do your best, but go home to the family exhausted. You will never feel out in front of it. And so these are things that I personally had to overcome, and I'm so excited to just share with people.
Mhm.
And my favorite testimonial ever, I was in the middle of there was an insurance company, and we were about 3/4 way done with the training, and the lights were starting to go off, like, oh my gosh, there is a better way. And this
Yeah. And it's
pregnant,
not hard.
and it's actually not, but you do need to be shown some of this stuff. And this pregnant woman stood up, interrupted the training, actually a big group, and said, I feel like you've just administered my epidural for work. I was like, oh, that's fantastic. I know what you mean. That's what it feels like when you finally get this platform or system of handling this huge load of work that we all have, life responsibilities and work. Tana, you'd said, you were at the bottom of the rung or something like that, and it was kind of hard to push it up. You're right. But intelligent people, and most people that we work with are very intelligent people. I mean, everybody cares a lot in general and are relatively quite intelligent. And when someone sees something that's true, it gets sticky. And so, correct, it wouldn't happen as quickly or effectively as if like the senior team started really getting serious about meeting culture. But you just doing you, and just at least your meetings that you call with your cohorts, or on occasion when you pull in your boss and you show the boss the example of what a mature meeting that will win everyone a lot of their life back looks like. It'll catch. In fact, I know Al in his book talks about when he consults on this, once it gets the first few dominoes going, it does go quickly, but those first few dominoes are kind of tricky.
Right.
I know there's a TED talk by Derek Sivers that says how to start a movement. It's a TED talk. It's really cool. Only, I think, 1:30. It's like one of the shortest TED talks in history. And it shows at this concert where this one person's out there doing this ooga booga dance, and he looks like a fool. And then two more people come after a little while. And as soon as those two people came, the rest just went. And so really it's the two people after the first one trying that catch on to your idea that gets you to that escape velocity. So if you're trying to create new meeting culture in your company, go ahead and start. Maybe try to recruit 2 or 3 others in the company. And the reason's easy. Like, everyone wants a lot more of their day back, everyone. And so it's a pretty easy recruitment, and it only takes 3 or 4 folks, you, the starter, and a couple around you. And all of a sudden people see, I want more of that time thing. And meetings have a big part to play in that.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. Thank you for mentioning that, because you're right. There have been countless individuals in my life who have been just a little counterculture, that because they were just a little counterculture, it gave me permission in my own life to be just a little counterculture too. And they
Yeah.
didn't have to be any sort of rung in a hierarchy. It could just be like, oh, I don't have to think about that. There's this person who doesn't. Cool. Like I can see it now, I can be it kind of idea. So thank you for correcting me and letting me know that even if I didn't feel like I was exacting change, there might have been people who were working around me who saw like, oh, well, Tana doesn't sit in all of these status meetings with the FA every single Monday. Why doesn't Tana have to go into status meetings every Monday? Maybe it got their gears thinking, because she's updating her tasks and keeping her financial advisors updated as she goes, so they don't need to check in with her in a meeting because they already know what's going on. And PS, they trust her, even if they don't hear from her. Like all of that might sink in by osmosis, just being around people who are trying to live in a different way too. So thank you.
You bet. That's why we're, it's usually you that's kind of bringing me up out of the mud. So I got a chance and I was taking it. So I got a question for you on the book. There was one point, I'm going to read this quote from the book here. It says, the modern meeting is for debating decisions that have been made. That was just commented. So the interesting thing was earlier in the book, it says that no meeting should be called until the decision is made. And meetings are really just a support around the decision on the initiative that has been made, whatever that may be. And then later in the book, I see that modern meeting is for debating decisions that have been made. So that's very interesting. And I got to be honest, just candidly speaking, that kind of, what do you think he meant by that? Because if the decision is made, the conversations have all been had privately, so we didn't waste everyone's time in a long meeting or several meetings.
Yeah.
And so where do you reopen the case? And it sounds like you can reopen the case, even though a decision has been made. What's your take on that? Because it kind of confused me, I got to be honest.
Yeah, what I thought of that was, okay, you know, Kim Kardashian, she has this brand.
Let's talk about Kim Kardashian.
Now, she's got this kind of underwear kind of clothing company that she started. And originally she was going to call it Kimono because her name is Kim and they brand off of their name a lot. And it was about like clothing. So that was a cute little something or other. And she went to market with kimono, and then people started saying, you know what, that's cultural appropriation. Kimonos are important cultural attire for this set of people. And she ended up having to go back, and then she changed the name to Skims. To me, that meeting of, okay, Kim decided she was going to call it kimono, but because it was such a big decision, she went to other people and said, okay, let's debate the name of this. Didn't actually happen, but a scenario where I could see where it would be helpful to debate it would be this, where you'd say, okay, what are the holes? What are any possible holes that you can see in us going forward with this decision that we're trying to make? And someone, perhaps a person of color, would say, I think that this will be a touchy subject for our Asian clients because this is a very important cultural piece of clothing for them, and it might not sit well with them. And at that point, they might have said, oh, we didn't even think of that. Thank you for that perspective. I think that changes our mind, and we're going to go back to the drawing board. And they would have saved so much money on like marketing and labels that they had to relabel things for, just by having one little conversation and hopefully having a few more people to like poke holes on it before they went forward with something that was a really big decision with a lot of dollars behind it. So in my mind, that's what I was thinking of. Like that would be the circumstance where I'd want to hear, like, what are the holes before we go.
Okay.
Perhaps
so I like that
before the decision was made, but I mean, if you haven't done stitching on the clothes yet, then the decision's not exactly made, so it's a good time to do it. After the stitching has already, kimono's already on the clothes, and you now need to change it. from all of
It
that.
makes sense. And I think that ties into how he said you have meetings, which are basically just touch and go support things on decisions that have been made already. And then you had these other things, mind mapping sessions, for instance, or brainstorming sessions. And what was the other one? There was one other that I had a note here on it. Well, anyways, these two other things you can do, mind mapping or there it is, group work sessions. Those are actually things, but the author considers those working, whereas meetings need to be, they're different. Meetings are touch and go support items, fast, quick. Brainstorming sessions are work, but it needs to be called that. And it needs to be really well managed. As we all know, brainstorming sessions can get pretty wasteful, but there is a real craft to that, as well as like group working sessions. There are a lot of roles and industries that require mind mapping and mind work and group work sessions. So, but those are defined things and hopefully very well managed. I think a lot of people, and myself included, were throwing all those things into the meetings tab when they're actually not. That's real work, and it should be managed just like there should be work, rules around effective management or meetings. There should be rules around effective, I should say rules and culture around effective mind mapping, like proper respect for dumb ideas, things like that. So I thought that was a really good point to call out, because everyone's going to think, what, we're not allowed to talk to anyone anymore? Well, no, that's not what the author's talking about either. There are just different ways of getting together. Only one of them is called a meeting. The rest should be deciphered between work group sessions or mind dump sessions or mind mapping. That was a good distinction.
Yeah. We're getting about that time. So are there other points that you would like to make about the book?
No, I would say go out and just start dabbling. Let's try some of this and start with, don't do any more 1 hour meetings, do 30-minute meetings.
Yeah.
That is a lot of time if you just map it out and just get to it.
Yeah.
Thank everyone and roll.
Right.
Get a lot of time back. Just start doing it. Start exercising that muscle. That'd be my final comment.
Right. And I like to think of meetings as not a time that I set and then I need to fill, but to fill it with things, but I get the things that build up and then I need to set the meeting. Like with you and I know that if I have one question or two questions, I'll email those to you. If I have like 5 questions, then at that point I might say, maybe it's time for us to have a meeting, because I think it would be faster and you know what the questions are and we can go through them really fast. And like going through the questions that I have quickly with people is how I like, they have to build up and then comes the meeting. It's not the meeting and then I need to fill the meeting the other way. So that's how I've always thought about it. And I feel like that's how we all need to think of it. Is it necessary? And then ask yourself again, after you've made the agenda and after you've decided who needs to come, ask yourself again, is it really necessary? And if you 2 times say it's necessary, then sure. But if it's just like one time, I could probably email this to them. Just, is it necessary?
And if it's not necessary in any way, shape, or form, just convert it into an email, get your answer, and everybody's time is saved. It's good stuff.
Yes. So it's a good little read. It's got lots of interesting points. And if you need to have a solid foundation of how to do your work before you get to a solid foundation of how to do your meetings, give us a call. We got answers for both. So thank you everyone for your time today. Thank you, Jason, and we'll see everybody next time.
All right. Bye everybody. Thanks. Bye.